Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. First and foremost, this is the Sinn. If you're going to buy a Sinn watch and you're going to buy just one to represent the brand, you're going to get yourself an EZM 1, or you're going to get this, the EZM 1.1, a 500-piece limited edition from 2017, paying tribute to the great German Customs Enforcement Unit Special that Sinn developed in the late 1990s. And this watch has all the toys. Size-wise, it's 41 millimeters in diameter. It measures 16.3 millimeters thick and 49 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I'll throw it on my wrist, and I should mention I own this exact model, and no, this isn't mine. Mine's over here. You can see this is an option strap. This is also an option strap. The watch comes with both. I'm going to show you both. On my wrist of 16 centimeters, I can say that when the watch is on its silicone strap, which it is right here, it does feel a little bit larger, as there's some stiffness to the strap that flares out over the edge of my wrist. The watch is thick. It's not going to fit underneath the dress cuff, especially since it is a reverse chronograph with a left-hand crown. This watch is designed to be held thusly when your hand is gripped around the butt of a rifle or a flashlight. That's the whole reason for the clearance on what would normally be the crown side. So this watch is suitable for a wrist, in my estimation, of 14 centimeters circumference or larger, 15 centimeters circumference or larger if you're going to wear it on this strap. Now the strap is incredible. I haven't cut mine or sized mine. I've kept it in the box. This one hasn't been cut or sized either, as it represents an uncut, unsized factory strap designed specifically for this model. It's not a generic piece. It is the Mission Timer 1.1. You can see it conforms to the arc of the case, the slope of the lugs. It's very thick to avoid tearing. On the underside, you have pre-scored marks as well as integral bars to allow you to size it and then lock it in place inside the clasp. The clasp, like the case, features tegimented steel, super hard stuff, about 1,500 Vickers. It's darn close on its surface to sapphire. And my watch, as you can see, it's got a little bit of crud on it, but I can actually scratch it with a key and then wipe off the residue of the key. That's how hard and scratch resistant this watch has been. Tegament is for real. Now you can also see that the watch is well equipped. The clasp is a deployant with trigger action, and then it features a fold-out extension. This is not a dive watch, but you may want to wear the watch over thick clothing. That was the idea for tactical units, that the watch might be worn over some sort of a professional vest or jacket in the course of its use. So it has that extension in there, even though, again, technically it's not a dive watch. Rolling back to the case, it's all media blasted. So if this ever does need to be refinished by some miracle of blunt force trauma, media blasting can be redone without removing metal. As long as you don't gouge it deeply, scratches or scuffs can be removed just by blasting the case again. It doesn't hit a refinisher's wheel. That's not how you create this finish. The lug profile is incredibly strong, almost Carrera-like, but whereas the Carrera lugs blend into the case band, these are broken out. They also feature bevels on their sides, as well as a squared off end, meaning this case design is probably Sinn's most iconic original design. You can see that the crowns feature shoulders to protect them against shearing, and then there's a shoulder for the central crown as well. So chronograph pushers and crown are all protected against accidental impact and shearing. Screw down crown, 200 meters water resistant. It is a lefty, of course. And again, the idea is just that if you do have your hand arced over while holding a flashlight or a gun, you're not going to have the problem with this watch that you would normally have with the crown on the 3 o'clock side. It's a mission timer, which means you have two different ways of telling time. You have a bidirectional bezel that is a countdown bezel. So I can align that with the minute hand, and now I've got a 0 to 60 minute countdown. Of course, the chronograph works differently. It counts up. There is a conversion of the Valjoux 7750. You can see its name right there at 9 o'clock, SZ01. Sinn has re-engineered the 7750 to work like a Lamagna 5100, which was included on the original EZM1. That would have had a central register with a 60-minute hand at center, along with the 60 seconds hand. So the idea here is that you still have that central minutes register from the 5100. You just have a movement that is still available, as the 5100 is no longer available. Very basic instrument style. Matte dial to resist glare, AR coated on the underside of the sapphire, white on black for high contrast. You also have white hands that are lacquered white for contrast, and then a few understated elements in red. You have the date disc, which is present, but it's red on black printed and thus very subtle so as not to distract. You see it says AR at 6 o'clock, and this is a system that Zinn devised to fill the cases with an inert gas, which was originally argon, which is why they still print AR on the dial. Today, they're filled with nitrogen when they're manufactured to displace any kind of contaminants or moisture that might be in the watch. And then the second line of defense is this copper sulfate capsule that is screwed into a flank of the case. It can actually remove moisture that gets into the watch after assembly, and it's not going to stop a flood if you don't screw down the crown, but if there's a little bit of moisture in there, this will pull it out. It will slowly turn from almost white to deep blue. When it's deep blue, it gets replaced, and it is serviceable and replaceable. You can see the outer section of the bezel, which is also tegmented with an aluminum insert, but the outer section of the bezel features screws that hold it in place. This is a captive bezel construction, so it can't be snapped off the way an Omega or Rolex bezel can be. This is a system that Breitling also uses, making for a very robust case. The bezel has to be dismantled. It cannot be snapped off by accident. Now, the watch, of course, has a solid case back with various terminology printed. What you can see is that this is number 150 of 500, so you know it's not mine, which is 487. And then you can also see that it is tegmented, stainless steel, very hard. It's shock resistant. It is water resistant. And then underneath you have that SZ01 based on the Valjoux 7750. It's a unidirectional automatic winder with a 42-hour power reserve. It pivots on 28 joules. It has stop seconds, a quick set date. Again, it's beaten away at 8 beats per second, and it has resilience to minus 45 degrees Celsius, plus 80 degrees Celsius, and this is a function of the manufacturing tolerances and the special lubricants that Zinn uses inside the watch. This is not universal to 7750s. It's exclusive to Zinn, and it is something that they apply during a factory service or original assembly. It does feature a cam lateral clutch chronograph, so the cam action is all about the tuning done at the factory. That's really, you get out what you put into a cam chronograph. Column wheels tend to be crisp. Cam chronos are all over the map depending on the quality of the adjustment and the parts used. This is an outstanding example that I should probably wind before I start playing with, and it actually feels as sharp as a Moon watch, which is also a cam style chronograph, and I've opined that the Moon watch feels as crisp as a column wheel, and that's exactly what you get here, a superbly tuned cam style chronograph that feels good, sounds good. It may as well be a column wheel. If you're wondering, the grade of ETA 7750 that's used on this watch before it's converted to an SZ01, it is the top grade, which is one down from chronometer and very, very good. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Sinn EZM 1.1.